What's going on, everybody? It's ETAPRIME back here again, and today we're going to be checking out Starfield on the ASUS ROG Ally. So yeah, I've been really excited about testing this game out on the Ally, and day one, at least early access, I had a lot of crashing going on, and it came down to the GPU driver I had installed on the Ally. At the time of making this video, it wasn't pushed from ASUS over to the update center on the Ally, so I had to go over to the website, download it manually, install it, and now it's actually performing really well on the Ally. So for this video, we're going to be testing it in handheld mode at a few different TDPs, and we're also going to go to dock mode, and we're going to max this thing out to see what happens. But before we get into it, I do want to mention that this video is brought to you by URCD keys. Now, I've actually been using this site for a long time now. They do offer PC games from Steam, Uplay, Ubisoft. They even offer Microsoft applications like Office, but the main reason that I use the site is for their Windows 10 Pro OEM keys. These are activation keys that you can pick up really cheap, and right now at checkout, if you use code ETA, you can get 30% off, and this 30% discount will be going on until the end of August. So with this discount, you can pick one of these Windows 10 Pro activation keys up for $15.58. And don't forget, you can use PayPal to check out on their website. I just did this build here. I need to activate Windows. I'm going to head over to my updates and security. We're going to go to activation. As you can see, I've got Windows 10 Pro, but it's not activated. So I'm going to change product key. I'm going to paste it in here, choose next, choose activate, and Windows is now activated. We're ready to go. My warning is totally gone, and basically that's it. They'll email your code once your payment is processed, and that's basically it. If you're interested in picking up cheap Windows 10 keys for your new PC builds, I'll leave a link in the description. Okay, so here it is, Starfield running on the ROG Ally. So at the moment, we're in performance mode with the Ally's power profile, and if you're familiar with this device, you know it's a 15-watt TDP with a boost up to 20 for a short period of time. Now, when it comes to the settings, I'm at 720p low, and we are using FSR. I've even disabled motion blur, but it doesn't make a huge difference. And again, we are in performance mode, so we've got that 15-watt TDP. And one thing that really actually makes this game and a lot of others great on the Ally is the display. We've got a FreeSync display, so we're not going to get any of that tearing or anything like that, even at these lower frame rates. It actually feels really good, and I've noticed that, games running at least 40 FPS feel super smooth on this display. We're about to get over that 20-watt boost and go right down to 15 watts with the Ally, and we can stick this right at 30 FPS. Low settings, FSR, and recently I did a video testing this out on the Steam Deck. Kind of the same thing. You need to take the settings all the way down, and we can run it at 30 on the Steam Deck. Now, one thing to keep in mind is it's still really early here. We're going to see some driver optimizations from AMD, game optimizations from Bethesda, and when it comes to the handheld manufacturers, be it Valve or even ASUS for the Ally, I'm sure we're going to see a nice little bump in performance once everybody gets their optimizations out of the way. But right now, it is playable at 15 watts, 30 FPS on this handheld. Now, going indoors is a bit different. We do get a much better frame rate at 15 watts, so let's get in here real quick. And once we're indoors, we can actually average around 40 FPS. And again, with this FreeSync display, anything at 40 or over feels really smooth. But there's still a lot more that we can get out of this handheld because we're still only in performance mode, 15 watts. So let's go ahead and take it up to turbo. And the stock turbo mode is a TDP of 25 with a boost up to 30. Of course, your battery's going to die a lot quicker, but it definitely ups that performance on Starfield and most other games that I've tested. For a handheld gaming device, I do think that this is some great performance because in turbo mode, we're now getting an average of around 48 FPS indoors. But again, our battery life is going to suffer here because we've upped that TDP. The whole unit is just pulling a lot more power. I think a nice little sweet spot for this game at 720p low with FSR on in handheld mode is 18 watts. You can go into Armory Crate SE and set up a manual TDP right there at 18 watts. Gives us a nice little mix of good performance and great battery life. Before we move over to dock mode and really unlock the performance here, I did want to show you one more thing because when it comes to Starfield, we're going to spend a lot of time in space or in our spaceship. So let's go ahead and move up. Up here, it does kind of ease up on that GPU usage. So I've actually just gone back to performance mode and we can average around 40 FPS. During space battles with 3 or more enemies, it does drop down to around 32 FPS at 15 watts, but it's still playable here. The next thing I wanted to take a look at was dock mode. Now keep in mind, you could actually do this on the built-in screen. You can use the included ROG Ally charger and go up to these TDPs that you're about to see. But personally, I like having it plugged into a larger display, plus we can see a bit more here. And of course, like this, we don't need to worry about battery life, so we can take it all the way up. So from Armory Crate SE, I take this to manual mode and just take the TDP as far as we can go. It'll actually give us a boost up to around 52 watts. Usually stays around 42 on average, and yeah, this is where you're going to see some great performance with Starfield on the ROG Ally. Okay, so here it is, dock mode. We're maxed out here with the TDP, at least as far as we can go with Armory Crate SE, and performance is absolutely amazing. Before, in handheld mode, we were at 720p, but now in dock mode, I've actually taken it up to 1080p. We're still at low settings, and instead of using FSR for resolution scale, I opted to use Fidelity CAS. Now, I've noticed on some games, especially with these APUs, we do see a nice little bump in performance, and with it set up like this, 1080p, low, we can get an average of around 50 FPS on the ROG Ally in dock mode. But we are pushing that APU. Now I wouldn't worry about this thing overheating or anything like that. The stock fan curve does a pretty decent job, but from Armory Crate SE, we can actually set up a manual fan curve, and there's a couple different presets we can choose from. So if you don't mind having a noisier system, you can have those fans come on much sooner, and you'll never hit thermal throttle, even at these higher TDPs. Now we're still kind of pushing it here at 1080p, so what I'm going to do is drop it down to 720, but we're going to use those same settings. I do need to change my system resolution here. So we're back down to 720p, low settings, and we're still using CAS here instead of FSR. Heading back into the open world planet, you'll see that we actually get an average of around 54 FPS now. Still not quite at 60, but I do have a feeling that in the future, in dock mode 720p, we will be able to run this at 60 FPS in the wide open. And really, what's kind of holding us back here is that render distance. So let's head indoors, and I'll show you what this thing can do now. Now we don't have to worry about that render distance. Everything is pretty much roped off here. Still using the same settings, 720p, Fidelity CAS low, and we've got that TDP as high as we can go. If you keep an eye on Afterburner up in the top left-hand corner, you will see a dip every once in a while. I've seen it dip down to around 56 FPS, but on average, we have a pretty steady 60 FPS. Obviously, I've got VSync on also, but this is really awesome, and it's super smooth. And again, you don't need to be plugged into an external monitor. You will need power plugged into the ROG Ally, but you can play it like this in dock mode while you're sitting down at the table or laying in bed. Have a really good time with it. Very impressed by this Ryzen Z1 Extreme and this game. And of course, we will see a bump in performance down the road. At the time of making this video, this game has been in early access for about 18 hours. So yeah, I mean, we've already got a few updates here that do increase performance by quite a bit. And if you do test it out on your ROG Ally, just make sure you have the latest driver from the ASUS website, because that's really going to cause a lot of issues if you don't. I'd say give it about a week and we're going to see a much smoother experience here at those lower TDPs. But you know, if you do want to run this at 60 FPS in some cases, I would definitely put it in dock mode. It's well worth it. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. I really appreciate you watching. I'm super excited about this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.